Hello and welcome to the 513 Show. We're glad you're here. If you don't know why it's called the 513 Show, it's for 2 Chronicles 5:13. It's all about making music for the Lord. Here joining me today is Greg Derwart and his bass. We see it just about every single weekend. Thank you all for joining us. We hope you enjoy our show. So Greg, where did you start? How did you learn to play guitar?
Well, yeah, so it didn't start with the bass. It actually started with a couple of these guitars back here. So
please show us.
Let's sit this one down, and we'll start the journey with this this acoustic. So when I was a kid, I expressed interest in taking guitar lessons.
Mm-hmm.
So, I was probably 7 or 8 years old, and my parents bought this guitar for me from Musicland when they were still over in Rock Spring Shopping Center, and I started taking lessons on this guitar. This is a Giannini classical guitar. These were sold in the 1970s out of Brazil. So I just loved, going into Musicland and just smelling all of that wood, and even Joe's sweet pipe that he smoked in there. Just wonderful memory there. So
any acoustic room is just very distinct.
Absolutely.
Everything.
So when you look at a classical guitar and you think of classical guitar music is like a Spanish flamenco style.
Very complicated on your right hand.
Yes, nothing that I learned.
Crazy.
But the neck is wider as compared to even an acoustic now a steel string versus and an electric. You see the width is wider here, and then the main difference, which as a scrawny 7-year-old learning guitar for the first time, it has nylon strings on the bottom, so it's easier to press your fingers down. And so when you're learning,
he used a pick.
Dude, I was 7 years old learning how to play guitar. So and that's part of the story. I'm still using the pick, even when I get to the bass. But you learn the basic notes so that you can do.
Yeah.
So that was my first influence, learning how to play the guitar and learning basic chords, and then so I did that for several years, and then I started playing electric when we moved. So I grew up in Fallston, and then during my middle school years, we moved to a rural town in Florida. And so I lived. It's a town called Wildwood, Florida. I still keep in touch with some of my friends there. And while we were there, so I was in. I'm going to plug this in here. We're live. So while I was in Florida, the middle school had an enrichment period, the last period of every day. So like the sports teams would go to practice, and the marching band would have its practice, the chess club, and all the different groups. But they had what they called the Wildwood Middle School Guitar Group. And it was basically a rock and country band. And so that's when I started learning, instead of playing a G like this, I learned bar chords. So it's the same chord, but you're taking this nut and using your first finger as the bar or the bridge. And learning that, and that's when as we got into playing more, rock stuff, instead of playing the full,
your power chord.
Then you just take your first and your third finger right there and go, and you learn bar chords and the power chords, and it's just easy to play so many different types of rock songs.
Like most of rock is just your power chords.
Well, and you got the. Or la 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 bamba, or I mean, it's like 500 songs with that. And then
it's like a 4-chord song.
Yeah. And then the next thing that was helpful in terms of I never got into learning like a lot of crazy riffs, but just learning the basic major and minor scales allows someone like me to still be creative enough to fill in some stuff. So if you're doing this G chord, that's your G note right there. So a major scale would sound. So you start with the G and you end an octave later at the next G higher up. And and then a minor scale would be. So instead of going.
So be careful. That was very smoke in the water.
Yeah.
Second there.
So once you do that, then you can just be creative, and if that. So just knowing those scales, then you just
Yeah.
flip them all over the place, and so that makes it easier just to be able to play different riffs and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's the one thing I really struggle with. I don't know enough theory, so I'm just like, I know like the basic intros, and that's about it.
Yeah, and that's fine. That's fine. So I did that, while we were in Florida, and then we moved back to Fallston. So in 9th grade, I got this as my Christmas present. So I was just turned 14 years old in 1984, and so this is an Ibanez Roadstar 2, which
Definitely
was
not a Strat.
no, well,
No matter,
but it looks like
I
it.
know.
Yeah. So this was
it feels like a Strat.
this
too.
is a Japanese company, Ibanez, that were manufacturing these, and obviously you can tell it has a very similar style as a Fender Stratocaster.
Yeah.
Now later on, so this was in 1984, and then 85, 86, 87, they still had similar designs, but some of their styles were starting to get like a point at the end of the head and pointier, on these things here.
Where's your bar?
Where I couldn't find it. I haven't played this in years. So yeah, it did have a whammy bar, and I would use that. But I didn't have a locking nut. So whenever you use the whammy bar,
you gotta be a little careful
without the locking nut, it gets out of tune.
You can't dive bomb, but you can get a little vibrato out of it.
But this is one of those 5 point settings where here would be using this pickup. The next one gets both of these. This gets just the middle, and then there, and then there. So depending on where what style that you're playing, and what you're playing, you just get a feel for the different sounds.
You want for players at home. You want to, for more like bluesy stuff, you want to be closer to the neck, which would be your neck pickup. Versus if you're going for more fun stuff, rock and roll stuff. You want to be more closer to the bridge.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more chunky.
Yeah.
You get like a.
And that's where you use your palm to muffle. Like if you're doing a bar power chord like this, if you muffle it right there, you can still hear it, but it's before the buildup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is this active?
Yeah. Okay. So that goes up and down like that.
Yeah. So your active thing.
Yeah. So yeah, well, I got this, like I said, in 9th grade, and played in garage bands and played in the high school talent shows, and had a lot of fun with that. Started buying pedals and experimenting with different pedals. So that was a lot of fun. But then I started getting like joint and muscle pain in my wrist and my arm. I thought I had carpal tunnel and stuff like that, and so I stopped playing altogether for a while. But that's when I decided, maybe I could try the bass, so I wouldn't have to be dealing with the pressure, in your wrist for the power chords and stuff like that. So I'm gonna unplug this.
Before we move on, how thick are the picks for your guitar? How thick are your picks?
Yeah, so for both of these I use a medium, and then for the bass I use a heavy.
Okay.
Yeah. So when I was thinking about getting a bass, a couple things played into my decision to get this one. This is an Ibanez bass that I bought probably 5 years ago. And
nice
I had the brand loyalty with the Ibanez. I like the Ibanez brand, so I thought about that. But the main reason why I selected this bass is going back to the thickness of necks. If you look at the size of this is a little smaller than like one of the traditional basses, like the Fender and PVs and other basses like that. And the logic with a larger bass is the expectation is that you're using your fingers to pluck it like that, But since I have been playing guitar for so long and using a pick on the guitar, this Ibanez, the neck is a little narrower, and more importantly, the strings are closer together compared to a traditional bass.
What he's talking about, so notice how the bridge, the strings at the bridge are a lot farther apart versus they are at the nut up here.
Right.
So versus his are a lot
closer together. And so even though most bass players will use their fingers to pluck there, the fact that I wanted to play it with a pick, it's easier to play a bass with a pick when the strings are closer together.
Mm.
So that way, when I'm going back and doing my I'm still using the up and down motion like strumming, that I'm used to from the guitar. When I started playing the bass for the worship team, it was fun because I already had those major minor scales that I knew, and just the concept of the power chords, But with it being bigger, when you're playing a guitar, you're often using your first and third finger, like to play a power chord or something like that. But as I got used to playing the bass with the distance between the frets, bigger on a bass, I'm often using my pinky finger, and instead of going, I'm using, so strengthening my pinky finger, and remember when you do that scale, you're finishing on the same note, just an octave higher.
Okay.
So I'll often, like, you'll hear me playing, if I'm playing a note, I'll use my pinky and go to the octave higher. But so once we learn a song and we know the actual notes that I'm supposed to play, then I can like fill in some accents, whether it's going an octave higher, or I'll even do stuff like when we start a song soft, and the bass isn't really prominent yet, but you want like a nice little filler. You can just I'll just pluck.
Yeah.
So if I'm playing a note here soft, I might just put both my first finger and my fourth finger on those two D notes, an octave difference, and pluck both of them at the same time.
I remember the first time I noticed him doing this, I was like, "What the heck are you doing?"
Because you said it came out hot, came out
it was
loud.
like really popping. Like,
but by plucking it, it's still like a softer tone. So
yeah, I remember when I was doing, I think we were doing Oceans. It was like going to like really smooth, really slow part of the song. So I threw it out my pick. I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna really get into this.
The other thing that I'll do is, again, if I know the basic progression of the chords, like Touch the Sky is. I'll use so I'm playing this on the A string, okay? So later on, when we're like building up and we're like, pushing it harder, I'll mix in the open A all the way through the whole progression. So it's. So just, using that, just to add more elements, to the basic chord progression.
Yeah. So, what are some of your favorite songs to play on this?
Well, so since I've only played bass during the time that I've been a part of the contemporary worship team. It's all the worship songs that are meaningful to me. Like I just played "Touch the Sky," and you mentioned "Oceans," and the songs that speak to my heart. I love playing those things.
We were doing "Feet on the Rock" last night. That was really good.
Yeah. So that's fun.
Honey the Rock. That opening riff is spectacular.
And then we talked about "Touch the Sky."
So hang on, but our feet are on the rock. But what's in the rock?
We.
Honey in the Rock.
Oh, Honey in the Rock. Sorry. Huey Lewis was one of my favorites. So. And look, I'm keeping my third finger right there, and the first three notes are all on the A note. So it starts open. And it's going so fast, I'm not even plucking it. I'm just.
So that was very Imperial Marchy for a second there.
but I'm just pushing down on
you
it.
Get a little hammer on.
Yeah. So I got the A open A still resonating, and I'm just
Yeah.
so
That's a very classical guitar thing to do. Just like let the strings like ring while you're like fretting them higher.
yeah. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Alrighty. Well, Greg, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a blast. Thank you all so much at home for watching. We hope you've enjoyed. Please like, comment, subscribe. It helps us out immensely. And if you dare, click the bell icon. You don't want to miss more episodes of this, or Hot Ones, or anything else that we may have coming. I don't know. I can't say much. Thank you all so much for watching. We hope you have a fantastic day. God bless.
We do.